My name's Bob Bradshaw. My company's called Custom Audio Electronics. And I've been doing this audio interfacing primarily for guitar players starting back in 1981. Buzzy Featon early on introduced me to Michael Landau, who was like one of my dearest friends. He was childhood friends with Steve Lukather. Steve Lukather begat Van Halen. Steve Lukather brought me David Gilmour with Pink Floyd. Andy Summers came to me after seeing this stuff through Peter Frampton, who I met through Steve Lukather. Eric Clapton I worked with via Steve Lukather. The first one he got was for the Zoo TV tour back in 1992. And so we built pretty elaborate systems for him. This is very typical of an old pedal board from the 1970s, even though these are brand new and we just built them. Some people like it this way. Now, what that gives you is everything at your feet. You can look down, you can see where the knobs are set, that's all fine and dandy. But as you can see here, if you were to stand here and to start using this thing on stage, you're playing, possibly singing, and you're stepping on all kinds of funny little buttons here. Maybe a lever switch like a Boss pedal, or a little hard switch here like these little effects boxes here. Different style pedals, different style switches. You overshoot, you break a knob off with your foot, you know, everything can get beat up because you're stepping all over it. There's numerous possibilities here for things to go wrong in a traditional pedal board like this. What this is a switching network, an audio routing patch bay, so to speak. All of the effects plug into a rack-mounted audio router controlled by this RS-10 foot controller. Each switch on the board here is a particular pedal or function in your system. So it acts just like a traditional pedal board in a sense, in that you've got access to every single thing. Now you have the ability to preset combinations of these things on and off. Like in one button can have multiple things come on and off now that you have presets.
All the sounds you make on a record you can recreate live just by this, you know, the drop of a switch right here. Now, I mean, you can go from absolutely dry nothing and that's it. That's just like plugging into a Marshall. And it bypasses all the other stuff. Now, if you want to step on this a little bit, you know, just add just a little delay. So see, that carries off like that.
Another great benefit to this approach over this is the fact that here you're running through every single cable, every single effect, everything all the time. That's why people will go, man, I'm running through all of these pedals and everything. What's happened to my guitar tone? When I plug my guitar straight into my amp, it sounds great. When I plug through this pedal board, it sounds like this. Having a looping system is the cleanest, clearest, most pure signal path you can possibly have if you're going to use multiple effects in a system, and here's why. What happens is we go through a series of loops, but we truly bypass the effect and the cables connecting the effect. So the signal path is much purer. In this case, even though you have all these things bypassed, there's still active circuitry that can color the tone in the signal path. It's a capacitive buildup that ends up sounding like your tone control is on halfway on your guitar a lot of times. In my switching systems, you're not relying on patch cords to make the connections and stuff, and that keeps the signal path pure and cleaner. That's the goal here primarily, is to be able to utilize all of this stuff, but to not wreck the fundamental tone that you have in the first place. That's the key thing here. You want it to sound like you're plugging straight into your amp. After about 10 years of this, it got to where things finally started being predictable. It took a long, long time because I'm taking gear from multiple manufacturers here and trying to build them into a system that's going to work together. And I'm dealing with different impedances from one guy who has a hot soldering iron in his garage and makes a fuzz tone that, you know, is supposed to be the greatest thing, to, you know, Eventide and Lexicon, you know, and I'm trying to meld all this stuff together and make it work right. I realized that I had some building blocks that were the same. And so we came up with switchers like the 4x4 audio controller, came out with an RS10 that is a universal box. You can take this thing and use it in other applications. You know, it sends program changes and it sends controller numbers. We'll build all kinds of little things like that, little foot switches, little boxes. We'll rack mount power supplies such as this here to eliminate all of the quote-unquote wall warts. Custom Audio Electronics 3+ tube preamp. I like to think that my systems don't have a sound. They don't, really. You could take this rig and have 5 different guys plug into it, and there's going to be 5 different ways of sounding. I tend to like to work with the end user, but I do work with a lot of the guitar tech guys. That's the other thing is, when we talk, I try to get people speaking my language in terms of the building blocks and how it all works, which is why there's information like that on the website. There's, you know, questions, how do I determine what I need? The most fun part is conceptualizing the thing in the first place, deciding what they want to do, and having them come in and plug into it and go, yeah,